The transformation of my 5,000 euro house is happening fast. The main goal today was to make it so cars could get up this forest path. In comes the excavator to finish what it started. That's one route I wouldn't recommend pulling. The excavator did in hours what would have taken me weeks by hand.
This is like a road. It's not a path anymore.
My neighbor said his car should be the first to make an attempt. It wasn't very comfortable and he drove maybe a little too fast. But it's better than walking. Okay, of course it made it, but now it's time for a regular car. No problem at all.
Legenda.
Okay, but what about my car? I don't think we'll make it, but we're gonna try. I've got to get some speed.
Yeah, a lot of it.
It's even steeper. We're almost there!
You're gonna make it?
We're gonna make it!
Yeah!
If the Yugo Florida can make it up here, anything can.
We started cutting up the roots the excavator had left behind. We had 2 new volunteers I had never seen before, so up to the hill they went to cut roots. And then a tractor that never would have made it up the path yesterday came up with 2 strangers. We were trying to draw up some plans for the new additions that were going to be built when a car came driving up the path. It was carrying an architect.
Hey.
We started taking measurements of everything. It turns out all of these guys are skilled laborers in one way or another. I asked the architect if I could use his sketch, but then that night he gave me something better. Man, this guy is fast. Now it seemed like everybody wanted to try and drive up here.
Too many vehicles. I don't know how everybody is gonna get down.
It was a successful day of planning, but the next morning it was time for action. We were going to take the tractor into town to buy supplies.
Okay, so this is my seat.
Yep.
Nice.
Armed with the blueprints from the architect, we went to the hardware store and started loading up on everything we needed to build our first structure.
I'm a man of many talents.
We loaded up the first half and then we had a problem.
It started to rain. We got the bags out before they got too wet.
A little rain never hurt anybody. We got back in the tractor and drove about 45 minutes into the next town to fill up on the rest of the supplies. This will make the septic tank for what will be the bathroom. When we got back to the village, I was invited in for a nice homemade lunch. Then we had to go get the last of the parts in the car, and we were all set for construction to begin.
Now I have everything I need, but the rain won't stop. We can't do any work.
I had to walk back up the muddy trail empty-handed. Luckily, the neighbors gave me these nice boots. No way any vehicle could make it up in this kind of weather.
Tomorrow, construction begins. Follow this page to see what happens.
My 5,000 euro house is unlivable.
I have been sleeping on this 50 euro camping bed for weeks.
Today, we're gonna change that. Walking down the hill was rough.
It's even worse rain than yesterday. It just won't stop.
I made it down the trail, drove for hours into the city to get some furniture. The guys at Les Nina had reached out to me and they told me that they would give me everything I needed for the house. And they weren't kidding. Their selection was really impressive.
I'm so excited to have a real bed.
After picking out my furniture, they told me they would send their delivery guys over as soon as possible to get everything set up.
I have no idea how they're gonna get up here.
I need to make room so they can get up these steps. When I went back down the trail, it was as muddy as ever, but they arrived. My neighbor, of course, volunteered to use the tractor to carry all of this furniture up. We set up the trailer the best we could and started loading up everything, one package at a time. We finished with the first load, covered it with a tarp, secured everything as best we could, and started up the muddy trail. I was a little concerned about the tractor's tires tearing up the path in this kind of weather, but it did okay. The delivery guys walked. We were lucky the weather started to calm down. We started loading everything up into my soon-to-be bedroom and then went back down the trail. One of the delivery guys came with. They loaded up the mattresses, and it was a perfect fit.
It's like they were made for each other.
This was definitely the best time going up the trail I ever had. It gave me a whole new perspective on things. But it couldn't last forever. We unloaded the mattress and I had some building to do. But I had to do one other thing first. Thankfully, another one of my neighbors came up to help me build the furniture. Things were moving pretty quickly. It was going to take us most of the afternoon, but no big deal. It was almost kind of therapeutic. At least it was at first, until we came to the hardest piece of furniture, the bed. We needed to bring in a few more neighbors to help us finish that one. It was a lot of parts, but we made pretty short work of it. Pretty soon, we were hauling the mattresses upstairs. A few more folks stopped by to say hello and help a little bit, sweeping and mopping the floor, and helping me dispose of all of the cardboard that was left behind. Finally, the room was finished. It was only a few weeks ago that this place was horrible smelling, covered in spiders, and bright blue. I still don't have water or electricity, but this is a big deal to me.
I still have an upstairs and a downstairs to finish and 2 building additions. But at least now I have a place to sleep. Follow this page to find out what happens next.
My 5,000 euro house is gonna be worth a lot more than that soon. It's been raining for 3 days. The trail has been so muddy that nothing can get up here. I was honestly concerned I was going to have a mudslide, but thankfully everything is intact and it's sunny today. My neighbor and I met up and started loading up the supplies for the new addition and drove it up the trail with no problems. Unload the stuff, go back down the trail, load up more heavy stuff.
That thing is older than you and I combined together.
Seriously though, we could not lift this. We loaded up the generator that the volunteer fire department lent us and drove back up the trail again. Just as we were regretting bringing such a heavy mixer, 2 new people came driving up the trail on something of their own. Turns out these guys were from Muta, a company in Slovenia that's been around for more than 50 years.
What is it?
It's a single axle tractor.
And they wanted to give it to me to use.
This is the clutch. This is the accelerator. Best of all, the seat is attached to this giant trailer. I'm not sure what this is. They said they were going to show me when we get down the hill.
I've never driven something like this before. When I got down, they showed me that this thing has 23 different attachments, like this mulcher. It's gonna come in huge handy in the future. So is this rotary plow and this tiller. 90% of this stuff is made in Slovenia. They left us alone with our new toy, and I put it to work right away. I was pretty impressed. We took a short break for a homemade lunch, and then the neighbor's father came to help us load the really heavy stuff. After taking our time to put these concrete parts in the trailer, the excavator led the way up the trail, and we followed behind with the trailer. Now remember, this house doesn't have a bathroom, so these parts will make up what will soon be the septic tank. This is all new to me.
This looks cool, but I have no idea how it works.
It turns out this requires precision. We're not just gonna put these concrete cylinders in the ground, we're gonna level everything exactly the way it should be. This took a lot more effort than I was expecting. We spent a long time just leveling. Then my other neighbor, the roof expert, came up the hill. He pointed out some serious problems to me.
See all these gaps of light coming in all over the place? There's not even glass here.
But the view is pretty good. If I want this attic to become another bedroom, then it's going to need a new roof. I have no idea what he has planned, but I'm sure it's good. With those 2 cylinders in the ground, now it's time to load up on gravel. Everything we've been working all day for is coming together. Just mix together the proper ingredients and boom, you've got concrete. We loaded and leveled up the first one with concrete without a problem. Now it's got a nice clean bottom. The second one gave us a bit of a problem. Big gaps at the bottom. So we broke up some old tiles and used those to create a little wall. Problem solved. Fill it up, smooth it out, fill up the dirt around it, and now we have 1 chamber for liquids and 1 chamber for solids. Yes, there's still a lot to do, but it's moving fast.
Follow this page to find out what happens next. My 5,000 euro house is full of surprises.
The biggest surprise was yesterday when I fell and was certain I broke my ankle.
Oh, yeah.
I jumped in the trailer and my neighbor Patrick drove me down the hill.
Right as it starts to rain. This is so cinematic.
He drove me to the emergency room where I waited for a few minutes before they wheeled me back to the x-ray machine. My ankle was not broken, just very, very badly sprained. The whole ordeal lasted less than an hour and cost about 46 euros, no insurance required.
The shoe's not gonna fit.
I pulled out an old pair of shoes and I could walk, kind of. Went back up the hill, and that was it for me today. Bright and early the next morning, my bathroom expert neighbor Philip came up the hill and started drilling into the septic tank. Him and his colleague got this done fast. These guys are pros. They had everything planned up beforehand. And of course, they didn't charge me anything.
There's the washing machine, there is the toilet, there is the shower, and there is the sink. Everything is coming together.
The next people coming up the hill was Patrick and his father Mladen. I'm building a massive deck on this platform that they excavated, and they are going to drill the holes for the pillars that are going to hold up the deck. They measured and marked every spot carefully and then got to drilling. It turns out this excavator drill is homemade. They built it themselves. Just do that all afternoon, and pretty soon you're gonna have 12 holes in the ground. The next neighbors who volunteered to help was Mario, Igor, and Igor's girlfriend Ivana. We're going to install a new roof, but first we have to tear the old roof off. What's craziest to me is Mario and Igor don't actually know each other. They just independently volunteered to help me with the roof. These guys were real pros. They knew exactly what they were doing and made a great team.
And just like that,
The roof is gone. Seriously, it only took these guys a couple of hours. At least it's a small roof. A lot of the wood up here was still good, so they removed the nails out of the old pillars. Then we had a bad pile of old wood and a good pile of old wood. Thankfully, more help came when it was time to raise the roof because my ankle was not feeling very good and it was time for me to just sit out and watch a bit. I'm just here to supervise. Everything, you guys are doing really good. They tied some string to each sides of the house so they could use it as a guide to find out where exactly the bricks should go. A few more volunteers mixed up some mortar and we were ready to put the bricks down for real. By building up this wall, we're going to change the angle of the roof, giving the space a lot more headroom. Of course, watching them do all this hard work made me feel pretty useless, so I decided I would go back down the hill and pick up some food. After making a short trip into town, I came back up the hill with a small feast. We set up a folding table in the dirt, made some makeshift chairs, and took a much-needed break. But, of course, there was more surprises in store for us. It's raining. Rain was not in the forecast today. But there was still lots of work to do. The guys were trying the best they could, and follow this page to see what happens next. My 5,000 euro house is teaching me all kinds of unexpected lessons. Yesterday, we got caught in the rain while building the roof. Of course, I learned never to trust the weather forecast. But my neighbors Mario and Igor wanted to finish with the bricks.
Yep, that's the last one.
When they were finished, we took shelter from the rain until we decided that it was time to call it a day. The next morning, I woke up to a delivery from Wienerberger, a world-class roof tile manufacturer based out of Austria. They had reached out and said they wanted to give me all of the tiles for the roof. These tiles are looking fresh. They also gave me a set of windows and loads of other roofing supplies. They even sent a couple of guys out to assess the roof and give advice. They made my life so much easier. But there were some other supplies we needed to pick up for the roof, like wood. Lots and lots of wood. We unloaded it and broke out the stain. Use a paintbrush to open the paint can. This will protect the wood and keep it looking nice. Today, Mario brought along his son and another neighbor to help. This is brilliant. They used 2 pallets to put the boards on while they dry. My foot was not looking good from my fall the other day, so they asked me to rest, but I did not like this one bit. I tried to jump in where I could, and pretty soon we had a bunch of very well-stained boards. Next, the rest of the wood needed to be protected from the bugs, so we broke out the sprayer and sprayed it down. It wasn't long until we were loading up boards to go back up the trail. One strap in the front, that's not going anywhere. I was pretty impressed the tractor could pull all this weight. Pretty soon, the boards were unloaded, and back down we go. Then it was lunchtime. My neighbor Patrick's grandma fed us homemade sauerkraut, a traditional pasta-like dish, turkey from their own farm, and this homemade cake. These people are too good to me. When we were finished, it was back to work. This one is super long. Actually, they were all super long, but with just one strap and a bunch of people sitting on top of it, I was told we wouldn't have a problem, but I'll admit I was a little nervous on the way up. But of course they were right. We made it up okay, unloaded, and then went right back down again. We loaded up the trailer with gravel, put on our freshly stained boards. There was a lot more than I was expecting. Strapped them down as best we could. 2 straps this time. Now it's serious. Went back up the trail and unloaded again. This is the reality of having a house all the way up in the woods. We spent the rest of the afternoon just shoveling gravel, trailer after trailer, and I couldn't help but think that I never could have done it without these guys. Tomorrow, this wood down here goes up there. Follow this page to see what happens next. My 5,000 euro house has turned into the biggest project I've ever done. To raise the roof, we needed to put down a new layer of bricks. Next, we need to put concrete on top, but we need water, which is something I just happened to be out of. Thankfully, my neighbor Kresho stepped in with his tractor. We went down to the village well, filled up a bunch of barrels with water, and drove them all the way up the forest trail to fill up my 1,000-liter tank. It took us about 3 trips up and down, bucket by bucket, to get this finished. I don't know what I would do without this guy. Next was gravel, 17 tons of it. That's a lot of freaking rocks, dude! Thankfully, there was a local guy who gave me a great price. I have no idea how we're gonna get this up the hill. Then, after working all day at their day jobs, my favorite crew of neighbors came up to get this concrete done. Whoever it was who built this wasn't exactly precise, so we were going to do it right this time. Or at least our version of right. I'll be honest, I had no idea what Igor and Mario were up to at first, but I started to catch on as they went along. What they were doing was creating a sort of frame for the concrete so it would stay in place when they poured it. You just create a bunch of these little wooden posts, run a metal rod all the way through them and the bricks, and then take a much larger piece of wood to make the first wall, and if it doesn't fit, then improvise. If you have confidence in your abilities, then it'll work. Brilliant. Though I'm still recovering from my injury, I tried to step in where I could.
He's doing something.
This is easy. I'm doing it.
Yes, with skill, wit, and most of all, precision, they were able to build a concrete frame that would get the job done. You can't forget those last edges, though. Just when I thought everything was looking nice and we were ready to pour, Mladen brought out his futuristic measuring device just to double check. Now everyone and just about everything needed to be involved in this concrete pour. Patrick handled filling the buckets with concrete, while Mladen ran the mixer. Mario carried the heavy buckets to the top floor, and Igor poured the buckets where they needed to go. This was a brutal and tedious process. I tried to jump in a little, but my ankle still wasn't doing so well, so I had to take it easy.
This man is an artist with a trowel.
We were working as fast as we could, but the sun was going down.
We're gonna run out of time.
It got dark, but that didn't stop us from finishing both sides exactly as it was supposed to be done.
You can see here the original height. This is a new brick. This is the concrete, and then one more board on top. That's quite a lot of extra height.
Finish!
Finish!
Everyone was exhausted, but we were really satisfied with what we were able to accomplish today.
Follow this page to see what happens next.